What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. I am a bit early, Robert Dover. I am a bit early, in fairness. I was talking to TikTok and we were just kind of chatting away. So by the way, FYI, there is a 2-Bit Crypto that's just joined. That isn't me, TikTok. It's not me. So if I message any of you, it's not me. Don't do anything. It's a scammer trying to take your cryptocurrency. It is not me. See, my hands are here. I'm not typing anything. So if you want to get hold of me, by the way, join the Discord or join or ask me a question here, by the way. But anyway, welcome in, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. It is Sunday night. And yeah, I was just sat here. So my missus sometimes works up in the office, obviously where I live stream. And she was up here. So I came up early thinking, all right, she'll be sat here for a little bit. Turns out she wasn't. She was here for about 2 minutes. So then I went back down and made myself a brew and came back upstairs. But an important live stream, I think, tonight. We've got to get into quite a bit. I want to talk about 2026. What does that look like? We need and almost have to talk about the Bank of Japan. Interest rates are pretty likely this week. How is this going to affect the market? What's it going to do for crypto? What is it going to do for Bitcoin, etc., etc., etc.? I want to get into all of it tonight. Break it down. Let's see exactly kind of what the big deal is and why, in my opinion, is the market pricing in these rate cuts now. I do think there is some profit taken. I'll prove it to you. I also think there is some real concern in the market. And let's take a look at the history of what's happened before. So it isn't, it is unusual that the Bank of Japan does increase their rates. It's not very common, I think, is probably a fair assumption. So let's get into that. Let's try and get into the nitty-gritty of what to expect. And hopefully try and understand what's going on. Are we going to see a push down in the market? Could we yet again retest the lower end of 86,000? Is the market going to hold up? What are people preparing for? All of that, like I said, we'll try and get into tonight's live stream. So I thought it was worthwhile going early a little bit. Not like super crazy early, but just a little bit early. So, but yeah, share the stream out. If you could, that would be great. Tap in the likes, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff. It is, as always, great to be back. I did intend to stream last night, but the honest answer, I fell asleep. I was up super early on Friday, and obviously I was up late Friday night. So I got my channel back. Up super early Saturday morning. And yeah, for me, like I work in retail and a 9 to 5. It's a busy old time of year for us. So, yeah. So I was just tired last night. So apologies. I don't think that's a good enough excuse, but yeah, it is what it is. Okay. So with that being said, like I said, that makes no sense whatsoever. But like I said, it is good to have everyone with us. It is good to all be here. And yeah, let's get into a little bit of cryptocurrency and what else is going on. So with that being said, let's bring up the charts and let's sort of talk about what is going on TikTok. You can look at the charts as well because it is important to see. Should I close my losses or DCA? Mario, I can't tell you what to do, but let's walk through. Nothing's going to change, I don't believe, in the next, 35, 40 minutes. So sit tight, let's walk through it, and then you can make your assumption towards the end of the stream, is my opinion. Okay, so with that being said, let's take a look at what's going on. So you can see here, pretty interesting setup for Bitcoin right now. I actually talked about this on my update video. Where's my other thing gone? There, why is it all the way over here? Why is it all the way over here? I do not know. Right, I actually talked about this on my update videos, by the way. They come out, get it well, Zedek, I love that fact. They come out about 11:30 most days. Obviously I fell asleep yesterday, so I didn't want today, but they talk a little bit about macro. They talk a little bit about what potentially is going to happen. And actually this move that is happening right now, I talked about, and I was pretty much on the money. We even talked a little bit about this on the live stream on Friday night, which was this upward trend line and why this kind of line was so important. And you sort of take out some of the key elements. Would it run from here? Probably not, I don't think, because it's way more favorable to this line. And we said, if you remember, when we were talking on Friday, if this support was to break, expect further downside moves. Well, look, that is exactly what is happening right now. Now, we could Fibonacci retracement this on the short term. It isn't the greatest. And you'd say, well, our next price target potentially on this move, 87,627, which puts us well within a range that we've seen before. But actually, my prediction is that we probably end up coming a bit lower. And you can see here, the lower support line sits on the 382 Fibonacci around $86,000. Now, remember, as the disclaimer says on this channel, this is not financial advice, it's just my opinion. And equally, I'm just looking at the charts to give a view. It doesn't mean that it's going to accurately play out that way. But I think you can certainly assess where we sit with this. The lower range, $84,000, is probably where we sit as a potential move down. But initial or first point price targets, 87,627. If you go to the 4-hour chart, it starts to get a little bit more interesting as well and probably plays out just a little bit more favorable in terms of confirmation as to where we think we might end up. So if I am if I'm looking to trade this opportunity, 87,627 would be my initial point. Okay, that's the initial level that I'm going to be looking at to make an assumption as to where I think the markets are going to go. Right now, you're in a low trade day. Sunday's a particularly low trade, but I think it's worthwhile. The only couple of bits I would say that are bucking the trend slightly is Ethereum is actually holding up pretty well, which is unusual given the day. So with Bitcoin pushing down, Ethereum kind of holding, you say, well, okay, maybe Ethereum drives a little bit more of the market. But for me right now, this is going to be a key setup when we look at Bitcoin on a slightly higher time frame. If you would take the week, obviously this is a weekly close day as well. What does the market structure look like? You could argue for an element of consolidation above the 100-day exponential moving average, which is this blue line here moving across here. So on a macro standpoint, you would say, well, actually Bitcoin is holding the range. All right, it's not going, it's not too much. Well, it's not going down. It is pretty flat, and we have now been for the last month. So I guess the question is, what does it look like as a potential next move? Do we get like we got here, which was we saw a good downward trend. So probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 6 to 7 weeks of downward trending. We then saw 6 weeks of consolidation sideways before that moved to a new all-time high. Well, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks of downward momentum. Or you could argue essentially you come from here, which actually takes us to 6 down and 1 up, with this 3 weeks consolidation. So if it was to play out similarly, you'd argue maybe we've got another 4 weeks, maybe another month, putting us into the title of this live stream, which is, like I said, which is 2026. That could obviously then play out. DCA till they open the gates. I'm not leaving my position. No hype. Look, I think you're not on your own in that sentiment. 2026 needs to be a positive. Yeah, Calamari, you are absolutely right. And there's loads of, oh my God, there's loads of possibilities that could run into 2026. I think what we need to do is just ascertain what the potential likelihood is. Obviously, we don't really know. The market's going to do what the market's going to do. We just kind of have to hold on and see where we end up to. But for me right now, short term, I would expect some downside momentum push. Long term, at the minute, it certainly feels like we're holding a consolidation range. And actually, the low on the weekly will probably be around 85,000, sort of 85,800. So if you were looking for a couple of price targets, as we've sort of discussed here right at the very start of the stream. What's going on, Mike? Good to see you, man. Then 87,600 is kind of where we get to as a potential short-term move. And then likewise, on the on the longer term, the weekly candles, you're looking at something around 85,000. The positive to think here, though, is we are, in theory, printing new highs. This is in a very shallow macro uptrend here on the daily. And yes, I'm absolutely trying to pull something out of thin air to make it sound a little bit more positive than it actually is. But you get my point here, that we are definitely in this kind of very slight upward trend. Now, like we said, Ethereum is holding up reasonably okay. The rest of the market is certainly not that wonderful. So Solana down to 130. You got Cardano now below 40 cents. What's going on, Selmo? You've got XRP breaking down below $2, albeit, yes, in a macro downtrend. Still probably not in the world. We can probably get rid of that now. I think the bear trap is well and truly not there. But I think this lower range, and I talked about this on my XRP update video the other day, which was the fact that 192 is probably the lower range that we could see a bounce off from. So there's a couple of key price targets right now that is worth keeping your eyes out for. Generally, though, altcoins, once again, getting absolutely slaughtered. The further out altcoins certainly hitting way worse. Things like SNEC, for example, pump now down to 2.4. Trump coin getting obliterated at around, $5.40. So it's hard yards right now being in memes, which is kind of why I've been advocating for a while now. I just don't think it's worth really going into anything. Some people may disagree with me and say, well, too bad I'm DCAing the opportunity. I'm getting into these. The trouble is, at the minute, we're DCAing and it's continuing to slide down. You don't want to catch the falling knife that we've been talking about for so long here on the channel. And you could argue in some of these instances, well, that's exactly what's happening. Zcash, I still stand by the fact this is well and truly over, and many people are going to get wrecked on this one. So be mindful. But this is where we sit currently on BTC. And in the short term, by the way, BTC is still pushing down. So I think it's worthwhile. It's worthwhile being mindful of that. What's going on TikTok? It is worthwhile being a little bit more mindful of where we sit. Okay, so that is essentially where we sit on the charts. All right, the charts don't well, I say the charts don't lie. They don't really lie, but they're certainly just an indication. They're almost an emotional sentiment of where people believe that we are going to go. The question, though, is, what's going on, Ron? Good to see you, man. The question now is, why? What do we need to be aware of? And what could be coming this week? Demi says, is it worthwhile picking up some XRP or no? I would honestly, my opinion, not financial advice, all right? My opinion. I would wait to see what happens with the Bank of Japan carry trade. The two questions you've got to ask yourself is the interest rate in the Bank of Japan priced in? I don't think it is. Just my opinion. And then when it happens, you know it's going to be bad news, and they're going to increase. So for me right now, I think in my interpretation of what I'm looking at, and we'll talk about it for the next, hour or so. I think the market's going to push down, and I think it'll push down on the Bank of Japan interest rate hike, and therefore the theory or the nervousness of the unwind of the carry trade, which I actually think isn't as bad as many people believe it's going to be. But I've got a lot of stuff we want to walk through and talk through, and we'll kind of get into it. To be honest, the dip is already happening, so I don't think the rate will be that bad since the market is... And the Riddler, it's a great point, because I think a lot of people... I think a lot of people won't necessarily see that, which is why I think short-term it may dump a little bit more. Now, would I advocate for having some buy orders set up? Probably. I don't think that's a bad idea. If you truly want to buy the dip, you want to DCA in your opportunities, having buy orders set up wouldn't be the worst thing. I'm not advocating for that, by the way, just to be clear, but I'm saying if you were looking to get in it, don't FOMO in, don't sit there refreshing your phone, just be conscious, make some decisions, set your buy orders, rock and roll. I think that's probably where I'll get to. But again, we'll talk a little bit about why we think it's going to be, and equally why we think the market's going to push down. Buy selling coming our way and then buy the dip. Well, I think so. And let's talk about why that could be, okay? I think it's important to reference. So, if you haven't already, give us a quick thumbs up on the stream. That would be massively appreciative. Nearly like 75 people in here. Likewise on TikTok, by the way. Tap that screen, lock in a couple of likes. I really appreciate all the support. We're building back up after a week of not being able to stream. So, yeah, it's good to be back, and want to bring you the best content I possibly can. So, I appreciate you guys. No matter what, XRP has had so much great news, even with this becoming a bank. Trust me, long-term, yeah. Oh, look, long-term, I'm super macro bullish. And I think, especially with XRP, and actually what a lot of people aren't talking about is the other parties to that. We'll touch on it a little bit later on. But yeah, Fidelity and a couple of others. So, pretty good. Not yet, Kevin. It's due on the 19th. It's due this week, I believe. I think it's by the end of this week. Okay, so let's get into it, right? So the story of the day, what everyone's speaking out about is this, which is essentially the Bank of Japan raising their interest rate hikes, which is why loads of people are now nervous on the market. People are certainly getting more nervous about where the market's going to go, which is going to create people selling off. It's as simple as that. But the question is why and how bad is it going to get, right? Bitcoin could extend the correction towards 70K. I don't necessarily think it goes that low in the short term, but it may well push it down there. But economists are now expecting another hike at the December meeting. If it happens, the setup provides periods where Japanese raising pressured leverage trades along global markets, okay? What you need to reference here as well is, by the way, I think once they do raise rates, it will continue into January. And I think anything the Fed does will be offset by what Bank of Japan does, okay? So I do think the two things are going to be pretty well correlated. But essentially, and we sort of touched on this before, borrowing costs rise, traders unwind these position, liquidity thins out. It's all bad news, by the way. It is all bad news. What's going on, Stardog? It is all bad news to a degree, because what happens is Bank of Japan's going to raise their rates, which essentially is going to make getting Japanese money that's always been at 0% more expensive. What do people do? People all of a sudden then, Blair, what's going on? They unwind their Japanese trades, or they unwind their stocks and their futures and their NASDAQ positions in the US. And I said here in the US, I'm not in the US, but they unwind them here. Okay, so not in Japan, obviously, in the US. And then what happens then is you have the stock market come down, which means that there's less liquidity, which means people panic, which means the crypto market comes down. So this is bad news, all right? However you look at it, however you want to spin it, it's bad news, because it doesn't happen. And every time, without exception, I'm going to prove it to you guys in just a minute, it has resulted in the markets pushing down, okay? So since early 2024, every Bank of Japan rate increase has coincided with a steep Bitcoin decline. According to analyst Andrew BTC, in the next post, he highlighted three notable examples: roughly 23% drop in March, 26% slide in July, and a 31% slide in January. Now, just to give you an idea of how likely this is, by the way, the probability of the Bank of Japan doing a 25 basis rate hike next week is 91.4%. 91.4, okay? So we can pretty much argue and say, yeah, it's pretty much nailed on that is going to happen. So we know that the Bank of Japan is going to raise their rates. And we know that every time Bank of Japan has raised their rates has resulted in a Bitcoin dump. So the theory would be, if the Bank of Japan raises rates, the Bitcoin's going to push down. It is as simple as that, which is why my view is you want to be sensible, and I would wait to see what happens, because what you don't want to do is buy in now, in my opinion, by the way, not financial advice, and then you see the market capitulate to 75k or something crazy like that. But to give you an idea as to the likelihood as an example, we were less than we were like 87% that the Fed was going to cut 25 basis points. We're saying we're at 91% for the rate hike in Japan. So here is the interesting bit that you were talking about, Andrew BTC giving us the view here, that the Bank of Japan is set to raise rates on December 19th. So it is Friday of this week. Every Bank of Japan rate hike equals a Bitcoin dump of over 20%. Okay. So the question you ask yourself is this where we see this kind of push down in the market right now? What are they looking at on the 1 week? Okay, perfect. You could say, well, is this the priced in risk of the Bank of Japan markets? The answer is no, because the Bank of Japan only became a problem here. This wasn't rates then and stuff. This was like all sorts of crazy stuff. Magic Craig, what's going on? He already DC'd the bank. This is, I wasn't going to say anything, but yeah. There is, by the way, I am going to show the other side, or the flip to the coin. As everything this cycle has been, sometimes it doesn't always play out like it's always played out, but laws of averages generally say that maybe it will. Devo, what's going on, buddy? Prince Guy's in the house. What's going on? James Horex, welcome in. Good to see you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. Don't forget, lock in that follow button. Tap that screen, lock in a few likes. I would appreciate that. Just shares us out, gets us pumping back into the old YouTube and TikTok algorithm. So look, I appreciate you guys for sure. Okay. So we know now that Japan's going to, it's not 100% guaranteed. It's 91% likely, but they're pretty much going to do it. And we know that Bitcoin does push down. So you almost need to position yourself. Would I be taking loads of big leverage longs on? No, I think that would be pretty crazy to do. Should you be trading shorts? Don't know, right? That's up to you to make that decision. But this is kind of where we get to, and I guess the risk that comes in. And it isn't just that. It's really obvious on the actual charts as well. So the 19th is going to be a really key point. The question that always people should ask is what has been priced in versus what hasn't been priced in. I believe today we have actually priced in some of the Friday's Bank of Japan rate increases, okay? I think we have. Because in essence, everything just gets more expensive, right? Everything gets more expensive. Unless you're in Japan, and then it kind of becomes a little bit better-ish. It still gets a little bit more expensive, but it still does get a little bit better. So again, worth noting here, right? Worth noting here. Yeah, and look, that's the thing, isn't it, Tim? Sometimes you just want to be sharp on those decisions. If you do decide to do it, then cool. But be very, very sharp. Stop loss, tight, trade very much within your means, I think is probably the sentiment I would leave a lot of people with right now. But again, this is kind of worth noting. So some of the key things to think about what this will do, and I think why they are doing it is, remember, we touched on this before, they are trying to stimulate the economy in Japan, right? They need to get it moving. So by increasing interest rates, what they're doing is giving an increase in bond yields and treasury yields, okay? Because this essentially means that people will hopefully go and buy them, and therefore they'll grab a bit more capital. So you can see here, look, the Japanese 10-year is now up to nearly 2%, which is kind of crazy. And you've got things like the 20-year at nearly 3%, 40-year at 3.6%, which is, it's even freaking insane. They've got a 40-year government-backed bond. In theory, think about it, like 40 years. Like, oh my God, you're going to get 4% on 4 years. It's insane looking that number up. But what you can see here is that, look, yield expectations here on the Japanese bonds are going up, and they're going to go up. So you'll get, on the 10-year, for example, you're going to get 2.11 or something like that when this kind of all plays through. But essentially what's happening is it's going up, which is kind of going to drive the market. So aligned to the US treasuries, which we will see, obviously the market's closed right now, but you will see an unwind in these a little bit this week, I think, as people potentially are going to just be mindful of what's coming. So expect the US treasuries to unwind a little bit. People will sell these off. And remember, when these start to come up, the biggest holder of US treasuries right now is Japan. So the fact that they're going to unwind this means that essentially some of that capital could come out of the US markets and go into the Japanese markets. I'm going to go and get 4% on a 40-year treasury. Like, all right, fair enough. If I'm holding, say, if I'm holding a 20-year US treasury as an example, which I think, excuse me, sorry about that. Man, have I not got it? Okay, let's say 10-year. So US 10-year is going to be 4.186%. Well, I could come over here and grab a 10-year with Japan at nearly 2%. But I'm not having to do all the conversion. There's not all this kind of swapping around and not all this kind of worry on currency markets as well. So this is why, again, a lot of this is going to unwind. So again, worth noting, I think here, right? Worth noting, and I think it is important. Is Japan going to raise rates? Yes, right? Is that going to cause the price of Bitcoin to go down? More than likely based on historic evidence. So you've got to make your mind up as to what you think the right thing to do. If you're a long-term holder, doesn't matter. All right. But yeah, you try patience and it doesn't work. You try DCA, it doesn't work. You try, yeah, I mean, exactly, Rob. That's why genuinely my opinion right now, and you know me, I'm always as transparent as I can be. I'm just sat on my hands and I'm going to wait and see what happens. You guys know that I took probably 50% of my portfolio into stable coins. Like, cool. I'm just going to sit and see what happens and make some decisions on the back of it. Yeah, Alvin rung me. Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, he rung me. I think I think it's true, but I think they just had to verify it. But yeah, he rung me straight away, which is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, great news. Great news for East Courtney Digital. And yeah, hitting a block, which is insane. 4.5 Bitcoin, $400,000. Not bad. Not bad for an afternoon's work. Okay, so there is, however, some element of positive news, right? Okay, I'm not going to tell you that the market's going to be fine because that's not what I'm here to do, but there is some positive news. And TikTok, it is probably worth you guys seeing this, so I apologize. I'm just going to turn it that way. This is an important chart to look at, right? It's important. This is the Bitcoin USDT buy orders. So this is showing you where liquidity is sat, or basically where people are either longing the or looking to purchase on a spot position. So this isn't futures. These aren't people looking to get in. These are trades set up to buy Bitcoin, sell Bitcoin, etc. What you can see is there is some pretty interesting levels being set up here. So I can go a little bit, I can zoomy. Okay, let's leave it there. So again, why is this going to be important? Well, this tells us, again, a little bit that there is an element that people are expecting the market to push down, and savvy investors or people are thinking, hey, I can grab the dip here. So what you can see here is obviously the price right now is around $90,000. You can see a big liquidity zone at 85,000, right? Just bang on 85,000. You can see that 320 BTC is expected to spy into that position. 84,267 all the way down to 80,000, which is 324. So if you was to say, well, if we were to do 20% as an example, which we've seen before. So if you go off, previous numbers, the average is, thereabouts 20%. So you say, well, Bitcoin from now drops 20%. Where does that take us to? Well, it's going to take us to around $70,000. So these people right now are saying, well, hey, let's get it. The question is there going to be enough panic and sell in the market to push it through probably the best part of 2,000 Bitcoin, right? That's what you've got to really kind of understand and really ascertain, because if there isn't, then the market will bottom at a certain level. If it will, then it'll continue to push down. So people are almost anticipating the sell-off from the Bank of Japan. Now, that's why another bit it could end up being not the same as it always is, because people are so expectant of the market to sell off. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't go as crazy as we think it is. Maybe the Bank of Japan goes, oh, do you know what? We'll leave it another month. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. It'd be an insane pump, I think, if it did, but never give up. 3 to 6 months. We'll celebrate Brother Dip now. Stelly, what's going on? Welcome in. Future Hope, good to see you, man. Welcome. Hunter's in the building. What's going on, broski? Good to see you, man, as always. And then welcome into all the gang on TikTok. Thank you so much, by the way. Action's in the building. Jenny's here. Jenny, you are absolutely doing a great job. Thank you so much. BGF just joined. Damien Connolly. What's going on, Damien? You massive legend. Appreciate you've been here as well. Yeah, I appreciate everyone tuning in, by the way. So this is an important chart, certainly an important chart to keep your eyes very much on right now. And this could be the reason that we actually see a little bit of, yeah, so I'm going to stream. I'll be streaming right up until Christmas Eve. I may even stream Christmas Eve. I don't know yet. It depends. So I'm heading down to the missus' parents. We go down there, but I'll be streaming all the way right up until the 23rd, maybe my last stream. And then I'll be streaming. I mean, I don't know. I might stream Christmas Day. I don't know. It'd be insane. It might just be like a random phone stream, but definitely 23rd. Probably not the 24th, but maybe the 25th. I don't know. Stick close to the Discord. We may even do like a little Discord live or something. That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? But yeah, definitely I'll be streaming up to the 23rd from here, from my from my studio. Okay, good. So think about this, right? There is some marginal hope in the market that we could see buyers stepping, whether we see institutions come in, whether we see big capital start to flow into the market, maybe. All right, all worth kind of noting as this kind of, flows through and we sort of try and understand exactly where we are. Now, there is also some other things to be thinking about, namely the Bitcoin inter-exchange flow pulse. Davo, thanks so much, man. Basically, this has turned red. What does it tell us? These are all to do with weakening liquidity across exchanges. Basically, exchanges are running out of cryptocurrency, right? Now, take it in the sentiment, I mean it. Doesn't mean that they've got like 3 Bitcoin left on, Binance, but generally means that lowering of exchange reserves equals tightening liquidity isn't bearish by default. It's actually pretty good news because what it tells us is the flow of liquidity is off exchanges. It's into non-custodial wallets. It's into people's, personal wallets. Liquidity on exchanges, obviously we know, allows market makers to be a little bit more volatile, but the reality here is that we need to be very mindful of this. Lower liquidity, though, can mean higher volatility within the market. Is this the fact they're doing it specifically because they know that there's a big catalyst that's going to come to the market that's going to push us one way, with potentially buying coming back the other way? Remember, exchanges make a lot of money based on volume and volatility of an asset. You think about people that are going to be shorting Bitcoin for Friday. People are going to try and launch along the Bitcoin from a dip. Like, you got to be mindful of it, okay? Certainly just got to be very plugged into it. But this essentially is telling us that there is a little bit of flow out of it. This on the back of, by the way, that President Trump says he's got a great relationship with President Xi. I mean, I don't know if this is relevant, to be honest, but maybe this plays out into something. I'm not really sure. I guess it could kind of, it could end up being good news. I mean, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I really don't see 70K, maybe 80K, but not 70, surely. You mean on the back? Look, do I think the BTC dips to 70K on Friday? No, but I think it could set the path to 70K, and that's the problem, isn't it? Because I think if we were to see capitulation down to like 82, 83, 84, you would kind of be in a world of going, oh man, like this market is so cooked, like another $1 billion from leverage longs. Like it would be hard to come back. Fairground says 76. Martin, what's going on? Manuel, what's going on, buddy? Welcome in. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is good news or story or not. I feel like maybe this was a weird, like, what would be the thing? Almost like just a poke and see if it makes the markets do anything. It's like, oh, I'm just going to say that I'm best friends with President Xi. Nope, markets haven't done anything. Okay, we'll take a look at the stocks Nasdaq pre-market futures as well in just a minute. Okay, good. A couple of things to think about as well that's aligning up this. I thought this was a pretty interesting chart that I wanted to show you guys. The risk indicator, realized price versus true market mean active investors, basically short-term holders. If we're close below 80K, hold on to your pants because they're probably going to get... Yeah, I think so, Stardog. I think below 80 is going to be painful. So we've been talking about short-term hold as well, which probably plays out into what we're going to get on Friday to a degree as well. We're kind of in that place. Well, look, short-term holders cost basis right now, which basically means that people FOMO'd in $102,000. So as it is at the minute, short-term holders are still, on average, underwater. Particularly those that have, sort of bought the top, which, in theory means that you should get less sell pressure unless they just dump it, right? Active investors, so those that have been buying the dips, selling the tops are around 88,000. True market mean, so those that have timed every top and every bottom around 81,000, and the realized price around 56,400 if you were to take over the course of the last sort of 12 to 18 months. Basically, what does it mean? It means that you've got noobs that are going to end up just selling at a loss, which we've seen. The actual, I guess if you want, the kind of core investors right now are still in a reasonably good place. As Stardog does states though, below 80 means that your true market mean, the people that have been longing the dips, shorting the tips, are going to they're going to be underwater with their positions. That is not a good place to be. So again, we do need to be very much mindful of what that looks like. The other caveat, by the way, is this. And the caveat to short-term holders is long-term holders as well. Long-term holders are, unfortunately, still selling their positions, but it's not panic selling. It's very different. It's actually coordinated selling of profits. As we talked about, median price 56,000. Historically, though, long-term holder supply rotates, volatility picks up, narratives flip, and the next phase of the cycle starts to reveal itself. The question is, what is that next phase? But you have short-term sellers that are dumping, and you have long-term sellers selling into profits, into pushes up in the market. So, we don't have the best setup going into what is essentially a very volatile part of this week as well. I mean, albeit it's the back end of the week, so worth noting on that. So I guess, where would you summarize where we sit right now? Probably a little bit of, unease in the market, nervous in the market. Markets don't like being nervous, and it feels like they are. Also, that's why it's such a big week. If you were plugged into the reason why, we do have some other things to be mindful of. All the way, and by the way, I managed to find the darker screen, so I turned off the big white light bright. So that's good news as well, isn't it, by the way? So we also have non-farm payrolls coming in on Tuesday, worthwhile noting. We also have CPI data this week as well. That's going to be pretty interesting coming in on Thursday as well. Forecast is 3%, consensus 3.2. So expectation is CPI is going to get worse this week as well. So this could be the straw that breaks the Bitcoin back and actually does officially say, yep, the market's cooked, at least until 2026, because we need to talk about 2026 and why that could actually that could be the one thing we need to be very much mindful of. Good, right. I've even been buying little bits of Crow because it's so cheap. Wow, Craig, you are wild, Craig. I mean, I love it. I love it, by the way, but you are wild. But I love it. I love it. A bad week. Yeah, I mean, it feels like a challenging week. You opening a short with, probably not, if I'm honest, probably not. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I will announce what I'm doing in the Discord, because I think, obviously I'm super nervous with the whole YouTube, TikTok thing at the minute. So I'm doing something else, but I'll put it in the Discord and tell you what it is. It's nothing special, by the way, but I'm just earning 15% APR. I'll just say that. How can you argue with 100 Crow coins for just, I mean, that's true. That is true. So, with all of that being said, and with all the kind of stuff we have in the markets, you kind of go, well, is there something left in the tank? Could we see 2026 being the one that we all want? Could 2026 be the savior that everybody is looking for? And how do we all play out as to what might be coming in the new year? Alvin, is it all? Have you confirmed it yet? Let's go shopping. Craig, that's 10 cents, but they, I don't know what that means. F Joe, what's going on? Welcome in, buddy. Welcome in. Isaac, what's good? Welcome, buddy. Welcome. Don't forget, everybody, share the stream. Give us a quick thumbs up. Massively appreciate it. Likewise on TikTok, by the way. Keep tapping that screen. You guys are absolutely legendary. So the question then on everyone's mind is, can we see 2026 being a bull run? What are the things that could change the narrative? A new federal chair? Potentially, we touched on this before, but actually from a market structure, what could it look like? How do we get 2026 being the most optimistic thing? What does it look like? And what are all the things that we need to be aware of? Well, look, Scott Bessent, for example, is saying that he expects tax refunds and a potential $2,000 stimulus checks that are going to come from the Trump administration. Yes, it's technically a negative because it's going to cost them around $300 million or $300 billion, like an insane amount of money, but could be good news. Vanguard are now in the market. It's looking to deploy about $1 billion worth of $1 billion into the crypto market. QT ended, right? QE isn't here. As much as people are going to want you to believe that, QE is not here at the minute, right? New Fed chair, potentially good news. Business cycle, the ISM, that's going to be the big one. Is that going to happen? XRP Bank could be a good one. BlackRock's ETF is again their top performer one. And if you remember, they doubled down big on ETH, which I think is interesting. So if you look at BlackRock ETH ETF with staking, then, that could certainly play out a little bit more favorable. We saw this, didn't we? The iShares Ethereum staking trust marks a bold push into on-chain yield exposure as the SEC's tone has shifted under new leadership. Very interesting. That we could actually therefore see that ETFs evolve. You know, ETFs become a bit more of a household thing into 2026. Remember, the big thing, and I think a lot of people forget this narrative, right? I think a lot of people forget what is the one big thing that drives the cryptocurrency market. It's different to stocks. It's different to shares. It's different to equities, different to commodities. There's one thing, if you think about it, right? Gold is an example. You can just mine more gold if you want. I know you can mine Bitcoin, right? But the big thing that drives this market is that liquidity. How much is somebody prepared to pay for your assets? Fact, okay? So when you have times of low liquidity, you generally have high volatility, lowering prices. High liquidity, you generally have less volatility and more stable upward momentum trend. So how do you inject liquidity? Well, the fact is you start. You see what I'm doing here? I'm trying to just be like, trying to just like delay until I get into this thing. You essentially start printing money. The Federal Reserve says, hey, we need to drive global liquidity, as does China, as did everyone else. That's what we're looking for. And the Fed have started to do it on a very, very slight base. Okay, so it's not like super crazy 2021. Let's absolutely send it. But they are very, very slowly starting to print some money. In fact, the Fed responded by conducting RMP, buying 60 million a month of equities, totaling 360 billion for last year. It's a pretty interesting thing, but it's not QE, a technical measure to resume the natural growth of the balance sheet and the maintain of the ample reserves. So the Fed balance sheet, let's take a quick look at this. The other thing we need to be aware of is repo debt and how that's all playing out. But if we take a look at the Fed balance sheet, obviously we saw the fact that they were stopping selling. So now what you want to see is it kind of hover, it kind of sit tight, and then, as you see here, look, starting to increase again. So again, this is important to see. We need absolutely to align, like we've seen many, many times before. Look at this. This is the 2021 go kaboomer when the Fed balance sheet absolutely started going crazy, and we obviously saw the most insane market. Because think about it. How are they doing it? They are essentially printing money by printing treasuries and treasury bonds. So again, we'll see that play out. So that's what we need. That's how you drive liquidity. Stimuluses from around the world, which again, here we go. Are you ready for this? I'm going to 180 all the way back to where I was starting. The Japanese upping their interest rates is actually a stimulus. It's in relation to nearly a $2 billion stimulus that they're trying to put into Japan. So that's going to create more global liquidity. So essentially where we get to is this week, along with probably the rest of this year, could end up with Bitcoin going up or Bitcoin going down. All right. Was that worth sticking around for 25 minutes? For 25 minutes for? Oh, man. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, by the way. Calvin Hill, what's going on, buddy? Like the new PFP, by the way. Looking fresh. D-Rod, thanks for the repost. By the way, do what D-Rod's done. You click this button here. Just repost us out. Would greatly appreciate it. Again, letting everybody know that we are here. As always, we massively do appreciate you guys tuning in and supporting the stream. It is and does make it worthwhile for me. Is it right that I hear they're going to start printing dollars tomorrow? Well, allegedly they started printing last week, but yeah, they've been secretly printing a little bit anyway. So, yeah, we're going to see probably a little bit more. It's not QE though. Jerome Powell was pretty clear on that. He did, however, state he wants to leave the economy in good shape. You have to create the labor market momentum in order to create a solid economy. So he's going to have to stimulate the economy through jobs. How do you do it? You print money, right? Simple as that. So yeah, go 50-50 or ask for a friend. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But in 4 months, hopefully there's a little higher in the bull market. Now I'd have to, yeah, I mean, yeah, you're either going to see the market go like the complete opposite way and go like do all sorts of insane stuff. But yeah, we'll see. It would be nice if jam is green, but I'm not holding my breath. Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, they are printing, but not at any sort of rate at the minute. What's going on, Vern? They're not printing any real rates just at the minute. Not kind of insane stimulus numbers, but look, certainly, yeah, yeah, certainly they are doing some little bits, but treasury buying, yields, all the rest of it is certainly kind of where we want to get them all to. Wow, look at that. All right, little. Is that meant to be like a little thing? Anyway, he also said he wasn't going to leave without leaving the economy in better shape. Exactly. I was just saying that, they've got to try and get the labor market going good and everything else, but we got to survive this week. That's my opinion. We got to survive this week, in my opinion. But yeah, we'll see. We will see. And I think a lot will depend on what happens. Obviously, the weekly close is probably going to be a negative one again, but it's still within the range, by the way. So not like super insane right now, but again, worth just being mindful of. Okay, good. Let's take a look at the pre-market, and then let's see what people are saying that we could see this week. Because that might give us an idea of, I guess, kind of what people are feeling. What do certain experts believe that we're going to get? We'll take a look at that in just a second. Okay, let's look at the pre-markets and see what the pre-markets are doing. So pre-markets look awful. Oh boy, look at that. The NASDAQ 500 points down. The Dow's going to dip. Asia clearly isn't. I mean, that's interesting. So we could get kind of we could get like almost like we could get a little rally into the Asia Open, followed by, in my opinion, by the way, I'm assuming everywhere else is down. The VIX, yeah. So look at this. The VIX is up 6%. So the VIX shows you the volatility. The VIX shows you the volatility in the S&P 500. So this is telling us that the S&P 500 is going to be volatile right now, up 5.99. So do be mindful of what that looks like. US indices. I was looking for where's the European markets? Here. So yeah, so I mean, it's just not looking great, is it, right now? I mean, these may change, but you are definitely going to get an unwinding of the Bank of Japan, like nervousness. So we could get like a little bit of it. We could get a nice little, maybe a little bounce as the Asia markets open. I wouldn't be too confident in it. Followed by, in my opinion, by the way, I definitely think US Open's going to be a disaster. In my opinion, right? It's not financial advice. Remember, disclaimer. Where's the disclaimer on YouTube? Disclaimer, look, not financial advice. Look, I have an official disclaimer that tells you it's not financial advice. But the US Open, I think, is going to be a fucking disaster. So be mindful of that. Just found your channel yesterday. I believe you'll be a big hit soon. Hey, GM, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Appreciate it. I'm trying. We're trying to just do good stuff. We're trying to just be, as factual as we can be and try and make sure people know what is going on, while at the same time always trying to learn and educate ourselves as we walk through this market, because it is freaking wild. Okay, CJ, what's going on, buddy? Welcome in. Welcome everybody on TikTok as well. We appreciate you guys. So let's take a look what people are saying. So let's take a look here at a little bit of macro data from Kiplinger. Then we'll take a look at some of the banking data. So non-farm payrolls, by the way, non-farm payrolls from November. Think about that. Will be the November jobs report delayed due to the record low, long government shutdowns, show continued weakness in the labor market. So, oh my God. So Tuesday, we're going to get November's non-farm payrolls. What is that actually going to be expected to be? Just out of interest. Jesus Christ, it's going to be awful. So expect previous 119, forecast is 55. November 25K. Consensus is going to be a little bit better. Okay, so that might not be great. just to have on the agenda as well, by the way. We also get CPI. We touched on CPI. We sort of know where that's going to go to. And housing market. Yeah, I mean, housing market's not really important, isn't it? There's quite a few Fed speakers this week as well that we need to be mindful of. When is it a good time to talk about the best tax ledger app? What? I'm looking at my 25 transactions and my head is spinning. Pass. I mean, I've said, yeah, we probably should do that soon. Vincent, are you UK or US? I can never remember. Those who don't know, we're in a bear market. There's no point in going long or trying to accumulate anything. Just short every small pump. Yeah. There you are. Do you believe we're in a 4-year bear market, as in like the bear market's here now? So we're in for like what? What's traditionally a bear market? 12 months? So you think 2027 is probably when we start to accumulate again? Man, imagine that. Imagine a 12-month decline from where we are. Oh! Get ready. Bear markets are like a year. Yeah. I mean, Yeah, where's 2021? Well, let's just do it on the monthly. It's easier, isn't it? So if we were, I mean, look at that. That monthly candles. Oh. Still technically holding the 20-day exponential moving average on the month, by the way. It's on its way, Craig. I think it's due this week. But yeah, it's all ordered, by the way. I think it is actually due this week. So, yeah. So if we said the Bitcoin top was here back in November, November 1st, 2021. The bottom of the bear market was exactly 426 days. So just over, I mean, you'd argue the bottom was here essentially. What wasn't it here? 365. Yeah, pretty much to the letter, like a year. Pretty much to the letter. Was this 2017? Yeah, so 2017 top to the bottom was, yeah, pretty much a year. So yeah, you're looking at a year. Awful. What is the longest bear market in crypto? I mean, I've just done 2017 and 2021, so the only one could be 2013. And I think honestly, you can't really give it any credit for what it was worth. To be Canada, I just want to do my taxes with a magic wand and be done with it. Coin tracker. There is some apps. I don't know. Like, don't ask me on specifics of them, but I've seen some of that 4-year financial cycle got reset last cycle to a 5-year financial cycle. So I did have this chart. And now I've lost it. Let me see if I can find it, because this is where people are getting the whole ISM 5-year cycle. Let me see if I can find it. It was US debt. Let me see if I can find this chart. Thoughts on ETH short term? I mean, I think it's a fair assumption to say that you just have to have an opinion about the market short term. Bitcoin dumps what it has done before. On Friday, the whole market's going down. ETH will probably get to about 2,700 or something like that. So, I mean, short term, I've got to be honest, I'm pretty bearish this week. I just am. And again, if you've been around here for a while, you know that I'm 50% in stablecoin right now. So yeah. Here we go. I got it. Perfect. This is what I want to show you. So, this is what essentially everyone's telling you why 2026 may be the change that everyone wants. So back in 2021, I want to say $8 trillion in debt was rolled over, right? Was rolled over essentially. So they have this to manage. So due to the pandemic and all that kind of stuff, they essentially refinanced or moved this debt, and this debt is essentially due to expire next year. They've got to pay it back next year, right? There's a chunk of change they've got to pay back. How do you get into a place where you do it? You have to bring interest rates down. You have to pump QE, i.e. you've got to drive yields down. You got to drive, you need to stimulate your economy. Everyone needs to go and spend like crazy. You basically need to make money as cheap as possible. This is what everyone's telling you, that 2026 may end up being a big cycle. I mean, it's hard to believe that would be the case, but yeah. If we would get news like this 3 years ago, we would have been in peak euphoria. I mean, that's true as well. Yeah, that is true as well. The difference between, though, I've been thinking about this for a while, actually. The difference between, say, for example, 2021 and now is who gets euphoric, right? Who gets euphoric about huge amounts of money? If, for example, and again, just be careful what I say here, but if, for example, someone said to me, oh, here's $500,000 to bit, I'd be like, that is so much money, like crazy amounts of money, like 10 grand to some people might be a lot of money. Do you know who doesn't care about $500,000? When you have like a $15 trillion company, no one cares about it, right? So exactly, Tim. Retail are the ones that care about sentiment. Institutions don't care. They simply do not care. You can see that by the whole ETF industry. So, you would say, well, as a cryptocurrency investor, you've got a pro-cryptocurrency president, pro-cryptocurrency SEC. Regulation is being wiped out, quicker than we can, eat lunch. All of this good news is great. The problem is no retailer's here to buy it. No one cares. The institutions go, well, we know this is coming because we're the ones demanding it. And I think that's the difference. Confusion is noise market is slick. Yeah, that's true as well. I think what's interesting as well, by the way, and we didn't really look at this, but these are obviously ETFs. Look how volatile ETFs were last week. In, out, shake it all about. Just be careful though. I think we're in for some pretty nasty couple of days. I'm talking about it because I want to know if I need to sell some stuff to get some tax credits. My money is on the bear market biting our asses until Q2. Well, maybe. I think he is a couple of months too fast. I've got to be honest. I haven't seen a lot of it. Maybe I need to have a look at it. Yeah, the Clarity Act we're not going to get till next year now, by the looks of it. I mean, there were a couple of people lobbying to try and get it pushed through, but it doesn't feel like it's going to get pushed through anytime soon. So again, that's probably going to go next year. I think they look for small percentage over long-term mouse. Maybe. I mean, yeah. It's always worthwhile being slightly more longer-term bullish than short-term greedy, in my opinion. I mean, generally businesses and all the rest of it do perform better if you have a longer-term mindset versus short-term. And, you know, the reality is the hard part of it is to time any sort of move in the market. No clarity, no big crypto move 2026 Q2 sometime. I mean, the only thing I said in my video the other day, which, I mean, obviously is now sort of invalidated, that was the longer we stay at around $90,000 or stay at this kind of upper range, probably the more beneficial it becomes for 2026. The sort of harsh reality is, though, that markets tend to, after a certain length of time, they just dump, don't they? People just go, yep, I'm out. It's not doing what I think it should be doing, therefore I'm going to sell. And I think that's the risk that we sort of have at the minute, which is, you know, the longer we sort of consolidate, the worse it probably gets, I think. But hey, who am I to say which way it's going to go? I don't know. Just know this. Bitcoin dumps 20% when the Bank of Japan raises its interest rates. We need to be mindful. Good. Okay, we talked about this. What else do we need to... What else is worth looking at right now? That is not what I wanted to do. Let's take a look. Let's take a look and see what is going on. The UK economy, by the way, shrank by an unexpected 0.1%. Was it unexpected? Don't know. Maybe it was. Maybe it was. I think we'll see an amazing, huge company that will take over financially the company's Ripple. Yeah. Joe, I mean, I've been saying this for a while now, and if you caught my video that I did the other day, I think there is some real strategy being played out at Ripple. I really do, actually. I think, you know, it could be one of those where in years to come, people look back and go, man, I totally missed that. I totally missed what everyone was saying at the time. Or, well, it's not even everyone, is it? It's like a select group of people that are like, oh, well, I think so. The other one to think about this week, by the way, will be any AI stimulus that comes in. And I don't know, we haven't obviously got earnings, we haven't got anything like that, but watching things like, we probably need to put them on here. We probably need to put them on here, actually. I feel like we need to do a, oh yeah, we got Tesla on here. Okay, we need to do a stocks bit. How do I put in a break? Anyone? How do I do that? Add symbol. No, I want to add section. How do I add a section? Is it this? No. Add. Oh, come on, 2-bit. How do I add a section? Am I just being an absolute noober? Add section. Right, here we go. Stocks. Let's call it that. Let's delete some of these. Casper. Let's get rid of that. What's that one? Magnificent 7. Okay, we know we need to keep that. Monad 2-1. Man, Monad's having a really bad time right now. Google. We need to keep Google in there. What is that one? The S&P 500 futures market. So look at the futures on the S&P, by the way. Ah! Bad news. Tesla. Let's get that down there. Dash, we don't care about. iShares, Bitcoin ETP. We're not that bothered about that one either. Oh, man, what happened to that? Get rid of that. Crypto stablecoin dominance. Do we care about stablecoin dominance? I don't think so. Right, bonds, balance sheet. We need the we need this one as well. This is the Japanese yen. Look at the yen increasing. No! Yen, stop it. Stop it. We'll leave that there. Any more stocks in here that we need? Let's see. Let's get rid of copper. Yeah, let's put in MicroStrategy and Coinbase as well. Down here. We need to put in NVIDIA. NVIDIA? Is that NVIDIA? I think it is. 175. Is that right on NVIDIA? 175? Is that right? I feel like that's not right. Sonny Raj put in the building. Oh, it is 175. Yeah. So NVIDIA. What else do we need to keep in there? Amazon. Yeah, Amazon. Let's keep that one in there. And CoreWeave. Maybe. Who else do we need to keep? Do we need to keep any other stocks in there? What other stocks? Is BRA dead? Don't know, man. We'll take a look at it in a second. Well, I'm not sure. I haven't looked at it for a while. I mean, I don't think so, Joe Bro. I hope not. I hope not. Make a video about how banks can circumvent the Dodd Act with stablecoins. The Dodd Act? What is the Dodd Act? I'm wondering if it's worth investing in Coinbase during the bear market. Don't know. What other stocks do we need? What other stocks are worth looking at? Apple. Okay, so we can keep an eye on what's going on with these. Specifically, things like NVIDIA, AI. OpenAI, we probably need to... What is that? Oracle. Oh my God, come on, 2-Bit. Get your life together. We need to look at Oracle. Yeah, here we go. Oracle Corporation. Perfect. Okay, I think we're pretty much set. Good news. Well, I think there's certainly a bit of an argument. Meta's a great one, Rob, actually. Yeah, I think the whole stuff that's happened recently, I think the Trump administration was certainly in a world where it was going to get pretty tasty. So, will that take infrastructure higher? You've lost me a little bit, to be honest. What is the Dodd Act? I don't know what the am I being silly here? I don't know what the Dodd Act is. Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform Consumer Protection. The Dodd Act. Major U.S. financial regulation law enacted after the 2008 crisis to prevent future collapse by increasing accountability, transparency, and consumer protection of the financial system. The end too big to fail. Aim to prevent taxpayer bailouts by creating orderly liquidations. I mean, I don't necessarily think this. It's been around since 2008. So, I mean, it's either doing the good stuff or not. Yeah. Founded accounts. What does that mean? Do you mean funded or Colin? I don't know what you mean. Welcome back, Marky Mark. What's going on, bro? Welcome in. Thanks, man. In what do you mean? What do I think of them? You essentially get to trade with fake money. I think is essentially what they are. So, people are that good at trading. Why would they need funded accounts? Purple Bitcoin, what's going on? But yeah, 2-Bit, you are not feeling merry. A Christmas hat or Santa Claus beard would be nice. At least would spread. Vincent, I got you, bro. I got you. It's because it's like the 14th of December. Don't forget, in my job, I listen to Christmas music all day. And I have to be Christmassy all day as well. But yeah. Thank you so much for the rose. I appreciate that. So, in terms of Dodd Act, I don't know. I don't think it has a big impact personally because it's been around since 2008, but that's probably as good as I get, really. So that's what one of my kids is like. At least I hope my missus is in there. Who comes up with the playlist? I have no idea. I think they used to buy them, but yeah, I mean, I've heard Mariah Carey a number of times, so yeah, and it's like the 14th. I mean, we literally put them on, I think, after Halloween. It's like, yep, crack on, here we go. Oh, dear me. Banks can get around regulation used to protect us by using stablecoins through the Genius Act, or do... I mean, I don't want to get too deep into my opinion of the banking sector specifically, but I just think the whole premise of a bank and how they operate is just not something I think is great. But do you work on heart radio? Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Greetings from Zach, Reactor. Hope you started preparing for the new financial system and holding XRP. I think you missed the payoff, but yeah. Yeah, I have. Might trade yellow stickers to save some money during the best. Exactly. So, yeah, the fear in your voice when you think you're... Yeah, I know. It's because it's like, do I need to go and sort something out or not? But yeah, FJ, I'll definitely take a look at it for sure and try and understand a little bit more as to how that would work. I mean, because you would assume then that there's like a little bit more to it as well. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that all plays out. But I'm not super sure, to be honest. Not super sure. But I think if you've been part of this channel for a while, you know exactly where I sit with that whole sort of sector. So okay, good. Right. What else do we need to be aware of then going into this market or going into this week? I don't necessarily think there's a ton of stuff going on, but let's get rid of that. We don't need that one. Yeah, I don't think it's the real one, but yeah. What about Zcash? Well, my opinion of Zcash hasn't changed, and I still think it's just done, and it hasn't. In fairness, yeah, all right, it did bottom out around 305 and got a little bit of a push, but for me, that tells me everything I need to know that is a weakening coin that I think is just going to continue down. In my opinion, I think Zcash is pretty much done, because if the bull market's not coming, people aren't going to need privacy coins. Like, they're just not, and I don't believe anyone's going to convert everything they've got into Zcash. So again, it is not financial advice. It's not my, I'm just saying my opinion of it. And I wouldn't be looking to do anything with the Zcash, as I wasn't, back when we talked about it back here at the dump. We called that dump before it happened, I think. It allows investors to get investment like they did with the subprime mortgage. Oh, the Big Short, yeah. Yeah, the subprime mortgage thing was wild, in fairness. That was proper wild. If you ask me. Okay. Okay, let's see what else we need to. Let's see what else we need to look at. Michael Saylor sees another Bitcoin buy. Allegedly, he's going to. F Joe, what is that? So yeah, I mean, allegedly, Michael Saylor is going to buy some more Bitcoin. That's going to be interesting. Hashdex released their 2026 crypto asset management report. Stablecoins, tokenization, AI themes are going to be the big crypto narratives to drive markets in 2026. I mean, is it? I feel like, I don't know. I feel like AI is just going to be something that people just get let down by. It's just my opinion. My opinion. Maybe it will or maybe it won't. We'll have to see. Solana's new upgrade went live. Fire Dance or whatever it is. Hey, JJ, what's going on? Says, what do you think about BTCD on the weekly? BTC dominance on the weekly? I mean, it's still within the range that we've been talking about on here. So, I mean, look, in theory, is it good news it's going down? Yeah. I think it's only going down, though, because we're actually seeing a decline in Bitcoin price versus a increase in altcoin price. So Bitcoin is declining quicker than altcoins at the minute, driven by the fact Ethereum is only, 1%. I would say that ETH is sort of dropping at the minute. So, yeah, I mean, look, it's a downtrend. I just don't think there's a lot of good to talk about the market right now, unfortunately. That's just my opinion. And I think, do I think Bitcoin will take a hit this week? Yeah. Do I think alts are going to get hit even bigger? Yeah. I think it's going to be painful for a lot, which is, again, why I'm saying, look, be mindful of where this market is. Be on your game, certainly where we think we're going to go. That's one lower low on the wicks, though. Yeah, I mean, true. At what, 58.2? I mean, technically, it's still below 60%, which is kind of all right, but yeah, the thing with the Bitcoin dominance, though, I think it's because we're seeing Bitcoin go down more than the altcoin market's going down. It's not the other way around. If we close the dominance here with no wick, that's bullish for alts. No, I think you're looking at it the wrong way. Again, just my opinion, because I think the fact is that you are just seeing alts decline less, specifically Ethereum, which is holding up. So think about it. Bitcoin's 2%, ETH 1%. So yeah, I think you're just seeing less. I mean, if you look at this, so this is everything minus Bitcoin and stablecoin. It's down 1.9, total market cap 1.7. So you could actually argue, based upon this minus Bitcoin, it's actually worse. It's worse. It's bullish for USD dominance for alts. Yeah. But you when you look at this total too, so take Bitcoin out of the equation, the actual altcoin market is performing worse than everything else. So yeah, I don't necessarily think it's good news. Like I said, it's not very often I am I am openly bearish really on a week, but man, this week is setting up to be pretty nasty, just in my opinion. And by the way, I can be wrong. I've been wrong before. I could definitely be wrong, but like I said, we looked at the pre-markets as well. So when you look at some of this stuff coming through, it certainly is just playing a story that I believe is going to, I think it's going to play out. What would be the reason the market didn't do what we think they're going to do? Bank of Japan all of a sudden says, hey, we're not going to increase our rates. We're actually going to stick it at 0% and we're going to do something else like drive the housing market or try and drive a productivity ratio. I mean, I don't know how you make the Japanese more productive, but that is essentially where they could go with it. I think it's very, very, very unlikely. Very unlikely. So therefore, you price in a 20% decline in the markets. The week before Christmas Day is usually historically quite bad anyway. Yeah. Generally, Christmas week's bad as well because obviously no one's doing anything. Most things are. Yeah. But didn't sell on his own advice. No, well, I mean, not fully. Not fully. I'm still all right though. Like I said, I'm 50. I've been in stable coins since 108,000 on it. So yeah, I didn't get the top, but man, I certainly got nearly 30 grand more than where we are now. So I'm cool where I'm at. It's certainly not where I wanted to be, but yeah, I'm sort of okay where I am. But yeah, I mean, the argument would sit right now is that I think I was as close to the top as anyone really. What was the ticker for Total 2E? Yeah. Well, Total 2E. So it's Total 2 minus stable coins as well. Yeah, Total 2ES if you want the one minus stable coins. You predicted the top correctly. Well, I was about 2 weeks out. I predicted October 25th was the top. And the top actually came in at October the 7th. So I was like, what? 18 days out, 2 and a bit weeks. I still think, by the way, though, and you could say, well, yeah, too bad you didn't sell the top. But I still think if it wasn't for that manipulated event there, we would have gone higher. I think, which is why essentially I waited for validation and then, and then saw what I needed to sell, which was like 108,000. So I wasn't that far off the top. I probably missed out on what? 10%. Okay, it's not the end of the world. But don't forget, I wasn't massively in Bitcoin. I don't hold a lot of Bitcoin, but yeah. I saw BTC at 119. I think I did pretty good. Yeah, I'd agree. I would say you pretty much nailed that. But yeah, so I was like 2 weeks out. In theory. Now I'm stacking back at 80k. Well, I mean, that's the debate we probably need to have. Probably maybe tomorrow night's live stream or Wednesday, or Tuesday would be the debate of how low can we actually go. Now we've done this. We did actually put this in the in a potential RSI, not RSI. What am I talking about? In a potential retracement, which was where do we go from the top of the move to the bottom of the move? So back here in 2023, this is kind of where we go. So you say, well, currently we're holding 84,734, which on the weekly, which why I'm saying on the macro, we're still sort of holding that range, but I think we lose 84.7, then it's going to get pretty painful. Where do we see the bear market? Well, I'd be talking about anything between this range here. So I'd say anything between 65,000 and 70k would be my Bitcoin bear market low, which would sit between the 382 and the 0.5 Fibonacci, which I don't think is bad. Don't look as bad. So are you looking for 814B on the Total 2ES? No, I'm looking at 935. I'm looking at total market cap excluding Bitcoin and stablecoins. No, I'm stuck about. I said that, didn't I? That 0.5 fib. Yeah, the 0.5 fib looks pretty insane. I mean, look at this. That's the interesting bit, isn't it? Look at the resistance that the 0.5 did show when it was on the uptrend. So you could argue, yeah, this is probably going to hold this could be another dead cat bounce. Remember what we talked about before? At the minute, this is absolutely a dead cat bounce. We may get a little bit more, rally back up, and then we continue to the downside. But yeah, the 0.5 looks pretty interesting. Definitely looks pretty interesting, I would argue. I'm aligned to sort of your logic and thinking there. So we feel we are now overcooked and going downhill for 2 years. I don't necessarily think 2 years, but I think definitely, I think I think at the minute, if we were to do a bull market, bear market scale, I think it's more to the bear market right now. More to the bear market, just my opinion. Right, but targeting 814B. Sorry. So yeah, where do I think this is going to come down to? I mean, the interesting thing with this is you obviously have a very, very obvious pattern starting to play out here. But I mean, yeah, you're going to look for the breakdown here, which probably brings us down to, yeah, probably even lower. Yeah, probably something around that. Maybe even a bit lower, really. But again, don't forget this is minus stablecoin, so it's because if you have stable coins in the market, so I'm a bit lower than you, then you would see probably a little bit lower. So I mean, we could see like 600 billion on the market cap minus stable coins, because obviously we just print more stable coins. So yeah. So I guess 692 billy. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if I'm honest, I think we could go a little bit lower personally. You know, I could see 600, which would be the sort of, you know, back to where we moved back here in 2023, which was the start to the incline to where we got to. But yeah, I mean, I think anything between 600, 650 is probably not the worst price range possible. But yeah, I mean, Bitcoin is selling off. So people are very, very, very unsure about this market open. Again, what this might be, short term, sell into the Asia market opens. Oops, I did not mean to do that. Sell into the Asia market opens, followed by then a potential short-term rally, which then probably means that we dump. I absolutely believe US markets will dump. I really do think the US markets will be pretty nasty. So I would be very mindful of that. But again, you know, if we look here on the, just to take this fib range, 87,629, you know, that's where we're looking at, which again, was pretty bad resistance as we couldn't come through. Did show a little bit of support here, back here on early part of December. So right now, my best predictions, that's where we're heading. 87,629. Break that, you know, it's going to be pretty painful. Just my opinion anyway. I might be wrong. 600, 620, that'll hurt. Yeah, it'll be pretty painful, yeah. What would be your target price to be looking at? I mean, look, again, if you truly believe that the bear market's here and sentiment, I feel, is a little bit more bearish than bullish, then my prediction is anything between 65 and 70K. That's my prediction. I mean, we could look at it you need to look at it on a way higher time frame, though, I think, if you wanted to get like a real macro view of where it's going to go. We'll probably go into this a little bit deeper on maybe a full live stream. So where do we think it's going to go? So you have to kind of understand the cycle of the market. And if you look at historically, okay, so let's go back and say, well, where has Bitcoin always topped? And then where does it kind of then follow through? So if you were to take, for example, let's take 20. So this is a 2017 top. Okay. So generally speaking, you would argue and say, well, the horizontal line is from the heights of the previous market. Where does that come across? Which, you know, you'd argue this is kind of the bottom. So then you do the same again here, which I think you have to take the candle body as opposed to the actual main bit. And then you take 2017 and come across here. And then you kind of work the difference between the two, is my opinion. So what do you get here on the drawdown? You got about 1,000% decline. What do you get here? 355. So you could argue and say, well, maybe you see less. You see 150% drop from your all-time high candle body, which would be here. So you say 150%. Where does that take us to? As an example, hold on a minute. 2021 across there to 2024. So we got a way deeper dip here. So if we did that to, I mean, this is proper. Yeah, look at that. It's pretty much nailed on. So if we then took the dip here, I said that, and then put that there. You would be, you're essentially, I think you're looking around 65K, which I don't think it's going to be the biggest dip that you've seen. I think it's not going to be as aggressive as we've seen in previous cycles. So I would say, yeah, we would probably see something like 65, maybe 75K, which would be the previous low that became, oh my God, what am I doing here? Previous low that was support. So That's annoying. That's not what I meant to do, which would be somewhere around there. So I think essentially where would I predict us to drop would be somewhere around this line. If we were then to say, well, let's put in a Fibonacci retracement on a wider scale, what does that look like? If you went right the way back, as we did before the bear market cycle, you hit pretty much the 0.5 Fibonacci as well. So I think, you know, my best guess, if I was looking to buy in or I'm looking to reposition on the next cycle, which feels so annoying to even be talking about this, I'm looking 65 to 70K, just my opinion. Can you talk about the pulse chain hype? Is there pulse chain hype? I didn't even think there was. Is there really pulse chain hype? I feel like that's not a thing. There's supposed to be liquidity injection this week. I mean, Lee, there's a little bit coming from the Federal Reserve. I don't think it's a lot. But the Japanese increasing their yield, increasing their interest rates is essentially a liquidity injection as well. It's on the back of having a massive stimulus. Pulse died, 23 billion, bless Lee. All I need to do is find 65K. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. But yeah, I mean, is there pulse chain hype? I mean, I don't know. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. I don't know much about it, to be honest. I had Hex a while back. I don't have any more. Pulse chain. Oh, I put Pulse China. That's not good. What? Pulse X stash. Okay, the combination will change the world. Pulse chain, UIX. So a prominent Prove X sacrifice phase on Pulse chain website now. Did I miss something? Prove X. Wrapped die on Pulse chain. I mean, what's Pulse chain doing? I mean, is it doing anything? I mean, I never really, the whole concept when it came out, I was like, nah, this is not for me. Like, it's a bit like the World Coin. It's just like, nope. Not for me at all. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is there hype? Maybe there is. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Not for me, yeah. The yen carry trade going to put a spanner in the works? Yeah, I think so. I mean, the carry trade has unwound a bit. I mean, don't forget, when we saw the last event, we did actually, in my opinion, probably get most of the carry trade unwound. But, yeah, it's going to be pretty rough, I think, this week. So, I'd be very mindful. I would trade very cautiously, if at all. Not financial advice, just my opinion, all right? Just my opinion. But I don't know how much is left in the carry trade, if I'm honest, but yeah. Yeah, so that's the problem. Japan's the largest foreign holder of US Treasury bonds at $1.2 trillion. So for years, Japanese pension funds, insurance companies, and banks borrowed at 0% interest rate at home and invested in money in the US Treasury bonds yielding 4 or 5%. So again, this is what I was saying earlier on. You are going to see US Treasuries sell off as they then sell those Treasuries off. And if you see them sell off, you'll see stocks sell off, which essentially is where the whole unwinding comes. So November 2025, we saw the Japanese unwind around 130 billion, announced a 130 billion stimulus package. And they turned the carry trade $20 trillion global trade, right? You at 1.2 trillion US bonds. So, yeah, it's going to be rough. If Japanese institutions start bringing the money home, even a fraction of it, the impact on the US markets could be massive. And that's the reality. If they can go and get 10% of their own markets, then that's probably what they're going to do. That's probably what they're going to do. And I think that's where you've got to be, you know, super mindful of where we get to and super mindful of what's going to happen. So, at the minute, the carry trade unwind indicator tells us it's a moderate risk. Whatever that means. So, yeah. Be mindful. The best way to keep your eye on what's going to happen is look at this. This is the US dollar versus Japanese yen. If it's going up, it's bad news. If it's coming down, it's good news. All right. Essentially from a carry trade perspective. So, just learn that. I gathered on Lunk and it pumped really hard a few weeks ago. Cashed out 60K, put into BTC. Nice. Nice. I think the carry trade unwind helps crypto when equities get sold off. Where does the dollar go? Real estate is high. Well, that's true. That's true. But I think a lot of people will put it into stablecoin and potentially sit on cash. I mean, I don't know if is there a chart to see what, I don't know if we can actually see that right now. $255 billion in cash right now with gold SDRs making up a large portion through US dollar. Okay. So key components of US reserves, gold, SDRs, IMFs, foreign currency. is around 39 billion. So not loads. I'm buying stackable assets on spot. Nice. Well, $11.6 billion of trade volume in 96 hours per XRP, and we're down 1 cent. Read that again. Total BS. Love this asset, but hard not to feel like we are being played like a fiddle. I mean, you could feel that about the entire crypto market, really, to be honest. I think what I said with XRP and my view of XRP is look at the broader picture with it. I think you have to take any top 10 crypto assets and tell me what they're building, what they're doing that affords them a longevity. I mean, even Solana is linking in with XRP right now. You've got to be in a world of going, why? Why is the biggest volume tradable blockchain integrating with XRP? Like, why are they doing it? So, but yeah, I get it. It's hard work holding XRP right now. 80k minimal I see. I can see if we break it 76, 74. Yeah, I think so. I think 80k is probably the big one, isn't it? I am interested to see what happens though with the Asian market. I feel like I'm dead curious to see what happens. Like this. It'll go whoop. Oh dear. If anyone's wondering what I'm doing, by the way, I've got like a weird bit of skin hanging off my cheek. It's too many. Anyway, with that lovely thought in your head, probably it's time for me to go. We've been live now for, man, how long have we been live for? 1 hour and 22 minutes. Bullish. Where we are going 80k fast drop, no pump. Maybe. We'll have to see. Right, everybody. That is me for tonight. Don't forget, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button, I highly recommend doing so. Make sure you turn your notification bell on to all. I'm here 6 days a week, bringing you the latest and greatest in cryptocurrency, breaking down what's going on in the markets, understanding the macroeconomics. Don't forget, I post videos on my YouTube channel every single day as well, keeping you plugged into this market. So if you want to get all of that, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn your notification bell on. Likewise, posting way more on TikTok as well. So definitely hit that follow button over there. We'll be back tomorrow night, as always, bringing you the latest. Look out for a little bit of content through the day as well. I'm going to try and keep you guys plugged into what's going on in the market. But as always, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. And I'll be back tomorrow, bringing you the latest and greatest in this very challenging, very volatile cryptocurrency market. I feel you are biased when you say you think I should hit the like button. Okay, F Joe. Hit the like button. See you in a bit.